Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Good.
Welcome. Hello.
Hi.
How
Hi.
are you?
Good.
That's wonderful. What is your name?
Maria Hall.
I didn't hear that. What did you say your name was?
Zaria.
Zaria?
Zaria. Yeah.
Zaria. That's a beautiful name. It's wonderful to have you, Zaria. Oh, beautiful. I see your name now. They're written too. Thank you. Oh, it sounds like there's a little
And my
feedback.
sister's name is, she's gonna join. Her name is Zaria.
Zaria. Oh, well, welcome, Zaria.
Huh?
Thank you.
What'd you say? Zaria. Her name Kyla.
I can't quite see your pictures frozen.
She's gonna join. Can she join? Can my sister join?
Yes, both of you, absolutely. And if your mom or dad want to be part of it as well,
so.
by all means.
Can you see me now?
No, now it's a gray screen, honey.
No, they don't want to.
I see a picture
Okay, hold on.
of you and your sister.
Can you see me now? That's my sister.
I only just see your, oh, now I see you. I see both of you. Hello. Oh, wonderful. Well, it's so nice to have such young people here at our summit. Thank you for being leaders. It sounds like
You're welcome.
An echo. And
So 9, 3, 8. I'm telling my sister the stuff so she can meet.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, what I'm going to
Hold
ask
on.
you, Zaria, if you don't mind, we're going to mute you for right now. And then we're going to hopefully have more people coming in. And then what I would love, can you type?
Yeah.
You can type. Do you have any questions that you might want to ask today about the subject of mental health? Yeah? Okay, if you want to write your questions down, we're going to be reading the comments. And so we'll make sure to talk about what your questions are. And the other thing that I really want to say here is thank you for being brave and for being willing to come to a meeting like this. You're really doing a lot more than what it may seem when you just show up for something. You're really showing up for yourself and for your sister, because you guys are leaders together in this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys are going to get to talk to each other about what the most important thing that you got from today was, and then what you're going to do about it. And that's how you're going to really make today mean something more than just a summit that you did online, because you do a lot of stuff online nowadays, right?
Yeah, I did school earlier and we got out at 12:30.
You got out at 12:30. Well, it's 3:33 right now, Zaria. So I don't know where everyone else is, but what I do know is that you are here. So I just want to make sure. Okay, so amazing. We are going to talk about mental health basics today and why we are more than our stories. And I want to make it so that we're actually going to be going live. So make sure that your parents are okay, because we're going to have your picture. So if they're not okay with you being in the camera, sorry, just let them know that we are going to be going live. So just so your parents are aware of that and you guys can make an informed decision. I love to be able to see you on the screen, but I'm just being extra careful because of your age, and so that your parents know that we really value their participation in this as well. So Jared Wade is actually the co-host that helps me run the Mad Hatter's Mystic Music Summits, where we're actually creating a compilation album. So we're making a CD with a bunch of artists and people who are able to be who they truly are in this world. So Jared, I would love for you to be able to say hello to the world, and thank you for coming in. Thank you for prompting me to be able, oh, look at guys, that's awesome. Hey, Kyla. Awesome. Okay. You really are in this together side by side. I can't even tell you. This, I think, is my favorite meeting that I've maybe ever done. So thank you guys.
If you want. Every day after my school. I got a writing. Yeah, I'll be back after like my school that I do.
Okay.
I take it back if you want. You like.
Perfect. Well, we love to have you guys present. And did you know that if you break the word present into pre-sent, this present moment was pre-sent for you right now, because now is the moment that's always happening? Have you ever thought about that?
No.
No? Well, now you can't remember not knowing it eventually. Did you ever think about getting to that point where it's like, first you start off not knowing you know something, or not knowing you don't know something? You start out not knowing you know something. That's called unconscious incompetence. You can't do it. And then is this music? It will get into music, but it's less music. It's more about the CD and the artists, and then the mental health, so that we can build up the artists and the ones who are listening to the music, so that you can get higher vibes, so that you understand when you're watching a movie or you're listening to a song, you understand the vibrational impact that it's having on your cells. Does that make sense?
Can I share you guys a song?
You want to show us a song? Do you already have it recorded, or you want to do that later on in the summit?
Well, I have it recorded already.
You have it recorded already? Then absolutely, you can send that in a file, and then we can absolutely play that. That would be a lot of fun. But what we're going to do is,
I can share my screen.
that would be wonderful. But what I want to make sure that we do is make sure that we actually go live onto Facebook, because we were going to do that at 3:30, and we want to make sure that other people have a chance to come too. But we really want to honor you guys who are here too. So do you know what I mean when you got to find the balance as to how to...
Why are you recording everyone?
So more people can come. And
We have more students that can come here, and so other people can get a chance to have fun.
Precisely, Kyla. Yeah, so exactly. If it's just looks to be like the four of us in the room. But did you know?
Is this going online?
It will. That's why I said to make sure your parents know, because it's recorded, and then it'll be posted online to be able to help more people that couldn't get themselves into the meeting or didn't choose to. Does that make sense? Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah? You pardon?
I said I don't like being online because it's way too much. People be like, it's bad to be online because the police might find you doing, if you do bad things on Facebook and stuff,
they will like the police will know what you're doing. So that's why I don't like being online and doing bad stuff. So that's why I don't like doing no bad stuff like that. Cause yeah, I don't like being online because I don't. Yeah.
Kyla, I appreciate your saying that, but what if the police also know when you're doing good stuff? And do you know what it means to harmonize?
I do.
So do I.
Daria, can you explain to us what it means to harmonize?
It means to harmonize, like if someone watching you or supervising you, like something good.
Can can I have a please?
Can you have a what?
A 1 minute, please, to be right back.
Yeah, you go do what you need to do, Kyla. But to harmonize, essentially, Jared, what would you say it means to harmonize? Because I think we do that quite well together.
Yes, I think harmonizing means to come together in sound to make a congruent creation. So you bring your piece, I bring my piece, and together we make a sound that sounds not uniform, but it sounds harmonious. It sounds like two things coming together that are in agreement.
What happens if those two things coming together aren't in agreement, Jared?
Then you have cacophony.
You have no peace.
Right.
Yes. What was that big word that you just said, Jared?
Cacophony.
How do you spell cacophony?
That's a good question. It is like CACAPHONY.
Okay, well, once you figure it out, you can type it in the chat box if you don't mind, so that everybody is able to benefit
My
from
spelling is horrible.
that word. Once we understand what it means. Because the other thing here about this is that this is actually a lot about leadership too. Did you guys know that when you guys came here? That it's largely about leadership? That
Okay, I'm back.
our ability to lead ourselves is ultimately playing into how we're able to contribute to a group. So awesome to have you ladies back. Jared, what does a cacophony mean? I'm just getting us going live on Facebook, so that's looked after, and then
We don't live now.
Cacophony is basically a chaos of sound. So you have, like in modern music, it's really popular to take a lot of different elements and try and string them together. And the idea is to harmonize and to make a congruent, not a congruent, like the same sound, but to make different sounds that kind of go along with each other. But a lot of times, to me, and in my mind, and what I feel is that the music becomes cacophonic. So it's like it's not fitting together. It sounds like the pieces aren't running together, but that they are clashing with each other. And so the sound creates a form of chaos, and that chaos is then endued into the vibrational feel of the music, and it creates an inner discord. And so cacophonic is really just chaos and sound.
I absolutely love that you're talking about the cacophonic.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of chaos going on in our own four boxes. And it's very metaphorical for where we are as a collective. So we're coming on a little bit late, and I see that you've got your hand up there, Zaria. And so I am just wanting to make the announcement to everybody that is now just tuning into what is now streaming live to Facebook, and to say that here we are in the Harmonizing Humanity with Music mental health experience that is a summit where we have come together to really harmonize our hearts. And we were just talking about what it means to have a cacophonic, for instance. Jared was explaining. Am I saying it correctly?
There's no R. It's cacophony. Cacophonic. Yeah.
Cacophonic.
Yep.
Word I've never heard before, but the thing is, as I was saying to the ladies earlier, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, and then you move into knowing you don't know it, or knowing you don't do it well, to then moving into doing it consciously, to then doing it unconsciously and forgetting that you didn't always know how to do it. So that's really what we're kind of shifting in right now, and we're just moving with the chaos of what's showing up for us, because that's how the mind works. And if we don't give it a voice or a box, which is what a word ultimately helps us do, then ultimately we keep ourselves feeling safely separate, and it doesn't do anything. So yes, darling, what would you like to say? You got to unmute yourself before you can do it.
Okay, well, I have this book. It's called Big Anatomer. And let me show you what it looks like. It looks like this.
Big Anthony.
Yeah.
His story.
It was so curious. Can I read a page to you guys?
That is not what we're doing right now, but I hear that is important to you. And what I would love to actually frame that as is to say that what we're doing here is actually so the story that we're all writing is humanity's story. And if we don't understand how to look after our own mental health, then we're going to really struggle with understanding that we are more than where we've been. And so it's incredibly important for us to really understand that our history doesn't define us. And it doesn't need to determine how high we can reach either.
Lovely.
Ultimately, our story is exactly that, the fiction that we give our attention to, the belief systems that govern our inner realms. And so today on this Harmonizing Humanity with Music Summit, the intention for it is to really understand that it's not necessarily about making music. So if I didn't make that clear, then I apologize. And I also say that we're just doing the best we can to figure out what needs to happen. And we also need to figure out how to work together and to create a safe space to be able to make sure everybody feels valued and that we understand what we're working towards. And so it's really understanding what made it so that you were willing to come today specifically. And when you listen to the replay, what made you devote the time that you will to this experience? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody wins a lottery every single day. Did you know that? You win a lottery today. Did you know that, Kyla? Absolutely. Zaria, you won a lottery today. Jared,
yes.
You won the lottery today. I won the lottery today. Do you want to know how much we won? 86,400 seconds. We won 86,400 seconds this morning when we woke up. And our mind determined where we went with our day. Our mind determined how we spent those seconds. And if we're listening to things that are taking us down and we're around people that are taking us down and we're constantly being sucked into a lower vibrational state, then we're going to have a lot less to say at the end of that day as to how we invested the energetic resources that we've got available to us. Would you like to say something there, Jared?
I think you're absolutely right. What we take in affects, because so especially with music is something that stays in your mind and repeats and repeats and repeats. And it's something that can be recalled, anywhere, anytime. And that song and that repetition can continue and continue and continue. And whatever that message is, whatever that harmony is, whatever that sound is, will help to create your present environment no matter when you heard the song.
Mm-hmm. Kyla, what's your question? You've got to unmute yourself.
Did you guys, my birthday is 2 weeks on March 27th.
Oh, very exciting.
And did y'all eat lunch? I saved some of my snacks.
Well, the difference between having a virtual experience and an in-person one is the ability to share something physical, which ultimately your shirt, I don't know if it needed to have it shared with, but that's okay. The point is that if we're connecting online though, we are contributing right now. We're sharing, we're connecting, but we don't have something physical to offer one another. So what we have is our energy. We have our presence. We have the ability to be in this moment. We have the ability to call ourselves back. Do you ever experience when you're feeling really unsettled emotionally, where you get really upset and your emotions are shaking outside of yourself and you have no idea what's good? Do you ever get like that? And you don't really know what to do. And then oftentimes we get into a negative cycle and it's just we react and do the same thing as what we did in the past. And then we have emotional responses to that. And then we have consequences that come from that. And then we define ourselves because of that. And then we start to see ourselves as that. We start to see ourselves in that emotional state. And then we start to see that image of ourselves and that identity. And if we actually trace it back, we're not our emotions, and we're not our behaviors, and we're not our results. But if we don't know how to actually unravel our identity from the stories that we've weaved around who we thought we needed to be in order to be enough, then that's all we've got in the end. So I am not able to stop videos on cameras. So to be part of the experience, you've got to have a box on the screen, essentially, because if you don't have a box on the screen, then you're not going to be in the box that allows you into the screen, which is the world that we have been bred into, and that now we're having the experience of trying to define ourselves amidst all the boxes that we all put ourselves into.
No, I am in the box on the screen. I don't like the picture that's right there in my camera.
Oh, well, the only way to change that, Zart, is to actually come into it live. So it has a holding screen, and that's your holding screen apparently. So I don't really know. I don't know how to change that for you. Sorry.
I know how to change it.
Oh, well then perfect. Then look after it yourself. That's perfect.
Oh, sorry.
See, this is the thing. So oftentimes we are trained to ask for permission for things that we can do ourselves. Like, can you do this? It's like, well, I don't know how to do things necessarily, because what you have to understand, and I love the fact that we've got young people here tonight. So thank you, both of you, for coming in tonight and being willing to represent the ones that are really called to this meeting, truly. You guys are the ones that are going to inherit the mess that is currently unfolding. And so you guys are the ones that also have a responsibility to understand what's going on from a capacity of understanding you can create something better. And that's what we're being called to do, is dream a new dream together. And mental health is ultimately when we get so wrapped up in our own heads that we get really confused and we don't necessarily know how to get it out, or we've got our energies unintegrated inside of ourselves, and we just need to understand how to breathe ourselves back into the present moment. So have you ever used your breath as a tool when you're super excited and your energy is all out here and you just feel like you're going to explode? Ah! It's like, do you know how to bring yourself back into the moment? Because that's the technique that we can use for the rest of our lives. to actually use the breath. That's the first thing we do and the last thing that we do and the only thing that we do consistently in between. To understand how to use our breath,
Can you stop the participates?
No, darling. So we're gonna leave it the way that it is, and if you don't like it, then you can make a choice that is going to serve you, so that we can make sure that everyone else that has come because they have something that they want to contribute or share or ask are able to be honored too, because this is a respectful space where we understand that we're all stronger when we're together, and that we have to be respectful of everyone having an opportunity to feel safe. So if you need to remove yourself from this to feel safe, then you look after what you need to do, and you trust your heart and the intuition, which is the soul you're hired, or the tuition is the teacher your soul hired ahead of time, so that you're able to maneuver more safely. And of course, it's more difficult to trust yourself when you've been conditioned to look outside of yourself for the answers for your entire existence. And before the age of 7, we don't even have a conscious mind that acts as the filtration system that basically makes it so that everything going into us in terms of the things that are said or the things that are seen or the things that are felt or experienced, all of that is going in. And after the age of 7, we have the ability to say, hey, what do I think about that? Or I don't agree with that, or I do agree with that. And then we can kind of place it in the subconscious of the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the filtration system. Before the age of 7, we don't even have that. So it's all going straight in. So is it any wonder that there are feelings of insecurity and doubt about how to trust the teacher your soul hired ahead of time, if all you've ever known is to ask something other than yourself, and to, if you need to know, ask Google, and if you need to know, ask Siri, and it's instantaneously available, which means you don't have to dig deep for it. You just got to go to what's the most easily accessible source and then extract what you want, and then go off until you want something else and go into that. The culture that we have been co-creating is sick. And people who are healthy and highly functioning, very intelligent people that say this is unusual, this is abnormal, this is not okay, are then given a diagnosis, from my perspective, and also put into a system that is designed to make the individual sick at the expense of their creative freedom and flexibility and ability to change a system, because we are far more powerful than we have any comprehension. And if we go into it, and if you feel like I'm preaching because these are all words, then it just goes into the conscious, and then you just say, meh, and then you just throw it aside. But if you understand that this subconscious mind contains every single idea that has went into it for your entire life, and the more energy that each of those ideas has, the thicker their file within that subconscious mind. And then ultimately you become what you believe yourself to be. That's your self-image. So that subconscious is the self-image that you see yourself to be. And because that self-image is such a well put together mask on your identity and who you see yourself to be, essentially, what we have to understand is that we have a responsibility to talk to that part, which is what music does, because that subconscious mind is actually in the heart. And when we get ourselves into the heart, that's when we can really start making the changes that we understand need to happen. And is the reason that the chaos came and then things started to flow, because there was order applied. And we have to know that all of us have a child within that ultimately got pushed away at some point, that needs to have, they need to be lulled to sleep, or to be able to coax themselves out of where they are in the inner kingdom where they've been scared for so long. We have to bring that back to life within ourselves. And that's really what we have a chance to do when we gather and we say, this hasn't been done before. the way that we're doing it now, but that's because it's coming together, and it's best if we figure it out and we just ride the wave of what needs to happen as we feel called to it, and then to let that be good, to let that be enough, and to realize that all of this is a reflection of the process of ordering our own selves. Mental health, going through the journey that I did in my own life, ultimately what it taught me is that this summit and the chaos and the confusion and the order and the gold and whatever else you feel like is achieved here or not being achieved here, all of those projections that you have as expectations for this meeting are ultimately connected to your mental health more than you could possibly imagine, because everything is a microcosm of the macrocosm. And what does that mean? But in a holographic image, every single piece of that holograph ultimately contains a picture of the whole thing in that small, teeny pixel. And so if we then expand that idea to understanding that each of us have that within ourselves too, and that within the sacred, secret societies of the past, when people were looking to gain admission into these said societies, they were asked a question that they needed to pass, and it had to get the right answer in order to be able to do so. And what they found was that the question was, how do you know when you suffer? And the answer, does anyone remember what it might be? Having heard the story before, or having answered the question because you had to then trade your allegiance to a society that made you vow to do things a certain way for them, because that is when we contract with others, which we do when we listen to music too. That's what the rhythm, that's what the rhyme, that's what the catchiness, all of that is just a trance. We have to understand the interconnectedness of all of that, to say that if we are this microcosm of the macro, and we understand that the question is, how do I know when I suffer? And then the answer we find, I'm going to just give it away because I often, I feel like you need to know. It's just like the answer is ultimately, how do you know when you suffer? I know I suffer when I see another suffer. Then I know I suffer too, because for them to suffer means I have a space in myself that has room for a hurting self, or that wouldn't be possible in my experience. Therefore, in order to love the world, in order to bless the world, we have to love ourselves. And the fact that there is as much chaos and destruction as what there is a reflection of free will and the ability to choose. But then it's also about the fact that we need to be able to trust ourselves. And if we've always been trained to look outside of ourselves, then it's very difficult to turn that around and learn to trust that feeling within when it's contrary to what we are being told is the truth. And that is then when we just have to learn that just because a system that is designed to save yourself significant time, energy, money, just because a system may be designed to save itself significant time, energy, and money at our expense, doesn't mean that you need to buy into whatever diagnosis may have labeled you to be something that you may or may not be. But what Bishop Larry Gator said in an interview I did with him on the Peaceful Inner Warriors United podcast many months ago is that in the DSM-5, the list, the first 200 disorders within that list are said to actually be the names of the fallen angels. And I don't know the truth specifically, but Kyla's got a question. Kyla, do you have a question? Kyla's not available now. So we're flowing now. Kyla, yes.
I'll type something in the chat to you.
You type something in the chat. Oh, you love the calls?
I said I love this class. I don't know how to spell class.
You love this class. That's beautiful. You almost did.
I love you.
Thank you, Kyla. That's very kind. You did almost perfect. You put the L after the A, and it needed to be CLASS, class.
CLES.
CL, cla,
ES.
ASS, cla, ass, class.
You are a great teacher.
Well, thank you. Zaria,
What do we do in this class?
Pardon? Ooh, Kyla, what? I missed it. I used to teach English online to kids in China. So I used to really practice my TPR, total physical response, where you emphasize that you're listening or that you're speaking, and you do the different things to just emphasize.
What do we do in the class?
What do you do? Well, the thing about the difference between a class and a summit is your choice to be in it, I think. So right now you're choosing to be in this summit where we are gathering to have higher level conversations than we would do if we were left.
Do we do activities?
The activities are conversation. We're figuring it out still. So adults have different kind of ways of playing. This is the unfortunate thing, you see. We've forgotten to play. And so the kids are like, what? You're just gonna talk the whole time? Well,
Yep.
Why is that? And you're not wrong, Kyla, you're entirely correct. So we can definitely take some pointers. In terms of mental health, what would your definition of mental health be?
Who is ICV?
Eric V. Welcome, Eric V. Great to have thee on this call. Do you know anything about rhyming?
Why he don't have his camera on?
He doesn't have his camera on because that's what he's choosing in this moment. So that's his choice, and we all get to choose something. And I appreciate your choice to be an active participant in something you don't understand. Because as we get older, our brain pathways of connection and sending information change. So it becomes more rigid and it's more plastic rather than when it's more fluid, like a child, where you're able to make new connections faster. And so that is a fantastic time to welcome Chantal onto the call. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. And we've got some young people on the call as well, 2 sisters, which is very symbolically significant for today's call as well. And we were actually just talking about neuroplasticity, actually. And so I know that with all of the hypnotherapy training that you've been going through, Chantal, I suspect that you might have a really cool explanation for kids and anyone else as to how the brain can change.
Yeah. If you can picture when you walk through a forest, and if you walk through that forest on the same path over and over, it'll tromp that path down really good. And what you're trying to do with your brain is make those paths. And so you keep doing the same thing over and over. That makes that path really strong and like packed down and like strong. And that's the only way I know how to explain it to children.
That's brilliant. So your beliefs are like packed down grass on a path, which is why they say, come be a trailblazer, which means that you're not going to find grass in front of you guys. You're going to have to blaze that yourself. You might have to get out a knife and cut down some of the reeds and the tall grass that make it really hard for you to move forward. You're just going to have to cut those babies down, and those babies represent the belief systems that don't serve us collectively. Because the fact that we've got 2 young sisters is absolutely beautiful for the magic of what could have possibly transpired today from a symbolic perspective. Because it is the youth that are going to inherit this mess. And if we don't equip them how to be leaders of themselves and how to actually change how they're patting down those pathways that their brain is choosing to take and that they are choosing to take as individuals in this world, how do we expect them to have much of anything left to inherit at all? And that then is when we have to look at the fact that the most precious real estate of all, the real estate, is us. This is the estate. When we came in, we were naked. When we go out, we might be buried with clothes on, but like ultimately at the end of the day, this is the only thing that can never be taken away, except for it can. And that's a story we don't need to get into today, because this is about harmony and harmonizing humanity. Kyla, yes. What question would you have? Or is it Zaria? Yep, ask your question.
And what? You said naked, which is inappropriate, and I'm a child.
I said what?
You said people come in and it's naked, and when they come out, they have bare clothes on. That I'm a child, and it's inappropriate.
What is inappropriate about nakedness?
What? Why you say it? It's inappropriate, like it's inappropriate in a different way. Inappropriate, which is mean bad. Appropriate means good. Inappropriate means bad. So inappropriate, you said naked, that's inappropriate.
From your perspective.
She said when we come in, we're naked. Like when we're born naked. That's what she's talking about.
Oh, so she's talking about clothes. Gross.
Well, like I thought you were saying that it's offensive to even say naked, or that to be naked is offensive, because that, from my perspective, is simply not true, which is a different belief system from normal. Because I don't feel like my body is gross or anyone else's body is gross. I feel like our bodies are very beautiful. They are pharmacies that have the ability to produce every single chemical that we could ever use or ever need. It is able to regulate itself, its own temperature. I don't have to think about breathing. I don't have to think about my heart beating. I don't have to think about so many things that my body just does. I love my body. And I'm so grateful for my body. And when I'm naked, I don't feel dirty. But did you know that that is a belief system, to feel shame at being naked, so that then we stop loving being our natural whole selves? I see that your hand is raised, Zaria. Just, you got to unmute yourself.
What do our chat equal to everyone?
No, our chat is just going to the people that are on the call.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So it's always important to people. Well, I say always, which is a universal. Does anyone know what it means? What a universal means? Or a definitive?
I'm still in first grade. I don't know any of that.
You're getting a fast track, darling. Show up into better classes and then you'll learn more. You did it today, so well done. Okay, anybody else know what a universal or a definitive is? It is when there is no doubt in your mind. It always happens. Universe, all. The universal song, the one that we're all playing. It's like you could chop it up to being cultural. The cult you are all part of, which is ultimately what culture is if you actually break the words down or the letters within the word. And so all of this is relevant to mental health and harmonizing humanity, because ultimately it is about being able to be where you are. It is about being able to go with the ebbs and the flows, and to know that you might not necessarily know the answer to the question that's being asked, but you don't not host the event because you're scared you might fumble. You don't, thank you, Kyla. Yeah. You don't stop just because you're not sure. Like you don't want to jump in when you don't know whether it's safe to do it. But at the same time, none of us make it safely out of life alive. And we really have to be willing to live while we're here. So this is part of harmonizing humanity. So we've got a lot of enthusiasm, and we've got the opportunity to embrace the youthful spirit that we are all fighting for. We are ultimately the warriors that are taking a stand for the little ones that pop in and then go out and play and do their thing. But like, they're here, guys. Like, where are you who are not in the view right now? And that's not to say that like you need to be, because not everyone's meant to be. But it is to say that whatever you're doing instead is ultimately going to mean you're doing something else. And our priorities show up in two places. Any ideas where? Daybook, checkbook. How we spend our money, how we spend our time. That's how we determine our priorities. Because as much as we may say something's important to us, if we don't make time for it and we don't make money or invest money or trade money or barter of some kind around that thing, then we don't prioritize it, which means that it can't be that important in the end, right?
So who are these children here? Whose children are these?
I do not know, actually. Would you guys like to explain what drew you to the meeting today? That's a really good point. I just love seeing you guys on.
I just wanted to join your meeting to have some fun.
All right.
Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you guys join because you wanted to do some music?
Yeah. Music is fun.
It is fun.
Actually, I listen to music. Get that right.
You do listen to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. What's your favorite kind of music?
I want to show you something. Can I share to my screen, please?
Wait, sorry? What?
Oh,
I don't know if this is a good idea, guys. I didn't know that screen sharing was on.
There you go. Jared's going to play you guys a song.
Yeah.
Bruce?
Yeah, right.
All right, we're going to make it so one person can share at a time. What? Recording. Oh. What happened? That was
We're
great.
viewing Kyla's screen. What is Kyla trying to share?
How can you tell it's Kyla's screen? I can't see that.
It's telling me you are viewing Kyla's screen.
Oh. All right, Kyla, what's going on? You just only see it. Oh, there it is. This is the song that you made, Kyla?
This is my old school song.
Your school song?
It's my old song when I used to be in school.
Oh, okay.
But now I do in first grade. It's in kindergarten. I mean in preschool. That's me doing the purple shirt.
And the purple shirt?
The pink shirt I made.
Oh, the pink one that you're flopping?
right next to the girl with the back ponytail.
Oh, okay.
That's flipping my page up and down. That's me.
Yeah, I thought that was you. You look very excited. Lots of energy. We can't hear you guys sing so much, but your teacher was helping you?
Yep.
And you miss those kind of opportunities, is what it sounds like to me.
Sing about Martin. Sing about Martin. Sing about Martin.
Amazing. Playground, please.
That was it.
Oh my goodness.
Our kids.
Okay. Well, guys, we're gonna stop the sharing with these for right now. That was very precious, but this is not about that specifically, but I appreciate your sharing that. It was absolutely precious and heartwarming. So thank you for sharing what was important to you.
Yep.
And so we're learning about what the need is. And what we're hearing is that it's important to kids to be able to show off what's important to them. And ultimately, what's changed for any age, ultimately, because we all just want to show off what's important to us at the end of the day. So we're all just children in varying stages of development, and we have to really start understanding that unless we intentionally get ourselves into rooms that will stretch and grow us, then we're not going to have the lid of our self-image lifted. And that is what is required right now, more than ever before, for us to be able to stretch beyond the chaos and understand, like, when the rocket ship is launching off, like how uneven and like how dangerous and volatile does it feel down here compared to like, and then it goes up. I remember when I went skydiving, I jumped out of a perfectly good plane at 15,000 feet. And I remember that the experience, it was hard to catch my breath. I wasn't used to it. It was like, oh my God, my senses were overwhelmed. All of these things were going on. And then my tandem instructor, so I had an instructor strapped to my back that was actually in control of the parachute. So he was responsible for keeping us safe. And so I knew I was just kind of along for a awesome joyride. And then all of a sudden, when we were falling, and then the photographer guy, as he was falling next to us taking the videos, he kind of looked at his clock, which was about the height that he was, and he needed to lift off. And then we went down further, and then when that parachute pulled up, I can't even tell you, I just about messed my pants, because that was absolutely terrifying to have gone from a free fall speed to all of a sudden being held and caught by my outfit. And it's just like getting free fall to then held up and then floating down. It was terrifying. That was my least favorite part of the whole experience, because that transition was definitely not seamless. It was definitely not smooth from my experience. From outsider perspective, looked flawless, maybe. But like, for somebody that's never done it, that amount of discomfort, I haven't done it again. And it's been as long as what these ladies have been alive for. But like, the point is it's just like when the rocket ship is trying to take off, and that there's a lot of turbulence when it's just getting there. So it's like, this is our second meeting, and ultimately, could it be done better? Absolutely. Can it get better with feedback? Absolutely. Does that mean that the feedback's going to definitely be what happens moving forward? Not necessarily, But is the perspective valued? Yes. Is it relevant to mental health? Yes, because ultimately, from my experience of going through the madness of my own mind, the mania that ultimately leaders ride, because a really great leader is often very manic. And that is just because there's a lot of energy, and energy needs to move, and some energy moves faster than other energy. And ultimately, leaders, great leaders, just understand how to channel their energy so that that energy is then focused. And so if we can just train ourselves together to become more focused, then we don't have to let all of the madness of not being able to contain ourselves then be what cuts through the discord and actually helps us remember the universe, the one song that all of us are singing together, is that when one suffers, we all suffer. When we are able to be like the unicorn that brings in color to a dark situation, we become a magical blessing. Would anyone like to share a perspective as to your own?
Yep.
That I want to have I want to have Jared or Chantel have an opportunity, or Eric have an opportunity to be able to actually share what it has been like to go through the hero's journey of your own experience that ultimately made you who is the one that now sits here and is helping to do the incredible things that we're doing as Peaceful Inner Warriors United.
Painful. It was not an easy process. It's still not a delightful journey, but it is something that is so incredibly worth what's happened and worth the costs. I don't, my perspective before embarking on this journey was that there was not, this was the costs I've had to pay would not have been worth the journey. But being partway along and being, where I'm at now, where we are at, Laura, with our project, seeing these things come together and looking at the greater impact that we're having on the world and the environment around us is helps me to see that there is always a lot of moving pieces in life. And while I'm having my journey, other people are having their journeys, and our journeys are coinciding and crossing paths and at different stages and places along that journey. And what will be is what will be. What has been is what has been. And the cost of getting from what has been to what will be is determined in the choices that we make. And I feel like there's been a call put on my heart to answer, and the one that's calling me has the end from the beginning all figured out, and he knows that this is the journey I need to take. And it's been tremendous to be privileged to be a part of this. I don't know if this is the place, but Laura, you have been such an amazing inspiration. An amazing inspiration to helping to get me to be better organized, to be more confident in my presentation, to be more aligned with who I am and who I'm meant to be. And that to me has been a gift. And that has been divinely guided, and I very much appreciate and recognize the source of that in your answering your journey and your call to what you have had put on your heart. That is a miracle of life to me, that we have these different journeys and we have these different paths and we have these different directions, but we're intersecting, and we're intersecting at a time and a place and for a reason.
It's magic what is being created right now, in truth, with what Jared and I set into motion in December when we gathered, and basically we're having
Can I share?
It's
like
we're just gonna wait. Everybody needs to be able to have their turn. So I see your hands are up, and so we will come over. It's easier when we can see who is on and that the video remains consistent, so that way it's not a distraction for people that are watching that may be getting distracted by video. So making a choice around that is appreciated. And I lost my train of thought. So, all right, Martina now.
Okay, well, it's just like holding your heart and from peaceful. Like if we ask, if someone asks us to join this Zoom, it's just like being peaceful of our heart.
So it's like when somebody invites you to be part of something like this, it makes you feel peace in your heart?
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that it brings peace to your heart to know that people care about you and that people care about the world that you inherit, because we do, more than you might even be able to understand. But at the same time, I'm not saying that because you are not a full person. You're just earlier in your development. So never let anybody dismiss you because you're a child. You just don't have as much experience behind you. But there are a lot of people that have just repeated the same day a lot of times. It's called Groundhog Day, where they're just doing the same thing over again because they're stuck in a rut. And it's like being in a grave, except for both ends have been kicked out. And so then they're just walking the path of somebody else. And then all of a sudden, that midlife crisis, when they wake up and realize that they just spent their entire lives living somebody else's dream and then have half of their time here left to figure out what they want to do with their own lives, it's pretty devastating sometimes. But the good news is,
can I have a turn now, please?
You can have a turn.
So, Jesus makes you walk and talk and do everything, and you move your arms and stuff.
I don't know specifically what you're getting
to. Do a lot of things. So Jesus helps you move, and Jesus helps you talk and walk and move your arms, and helps you put on your clothes every day for school and stuff, and teachers and stuff, and he helps you walk and move and stuff. And he won't stop doing it because you're alive. If you die, your heart's still gonna be running, but you're going to be dead and all that stuff. But you're still gonna be alive, but you're gonna be in heaven. If you know that.
I think you're talking about the threefold flame in the heart, in the sacred chamber of the heart, which is where power, wisdom, and love.
Excuse me.
You're very excused, and that is a fabulous contribution. And I think that there is more story to that story from a place of Christ consciousness being actually seated in our cells. And I don't know enough to be able to speak into it specifically, but what I do know is that from a lineage perspective, which means our ancestry or what came before, from that perspective, Jesus came before us and all of the other great leaders of themselves and others too. And so if we understand that they came before us, what that means, if we're all connected because of our humanity, which is the common hues that we share, ultimately, when we understand that they came before us, that means they're in our DNA. They're the remembrance of that being, and all they were able to achieve came through them into us, because they were in the lineage that we all came through, because we all reflect all that came here, because we're all in this together. It's the ripple effect. And so when you make an action, you get ripples that come out. And so being aware of all of these things make it so that we can really understand the support that we had before we got here, and what we can create together moving forward from here. So what was you guys who are just smiling it out with me? Anybody have any insights that you would like to be able to share?
No, after this lesson, I would love to share you guys a piece of a book and a little music.
Okay, that is not what we're going to do today, guys, because that was not what the plan was. However, if that's something that you're wanting to work on, when you guys can have the focus be on what's important to you, then get your parents to message me, and then we could set up something that could be a private arrangement that we could work out. But right now, this topic needs to stay focused, and we appreciate the energy, but we are going to adapt to the situation. But I'm just gonna check in to see if anybody has something you wanted to contribute. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap up today's meeting.
Yeah, we can finish it like tomorrow or like on Wednesday, because I don't have school tomorrow, and it'll be like a better time tomorrow. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, this conversation, Kyla, can be had on it via email from your parents to myself. Okay, so I'll just put my email in there, and then you guys.
I'm okay.
Okay, well then we're going to be respectful of everyone else having an experience in a shared experience setting. And so we're just going to check in, and if nobody else has something that you're busting at the seams to be able to contribute, then what I did want to do, in truth, was I just wanted to read a piece from The Creative Power of Sound. Everything always happens how it's meant to. This was something that I had wanted to do, and this is a message about sound. And so there's 7 fundamental.
I'm okay. I don't need to send a message.
Okay, so we're gonna just be respectful of. So if you've got something to contribute, just raise your hand if you don't mind, because that way.
Is this school almost over yet?
Pardon?
Is this almost over yet?
It's going to be over once I share the 7 fundamental principles of the science of the spoken word. So we've got about 10 more minutes, and then you will be free to leave, though you are able to leave as soon as you please, should you choose to, because we have free will. So this is we're picking off, but the 7 principles. Number 1, you can use prayer to create spiritual and material changes in your life. Spoken prayer is more effective than silent prayer. Decrees are the most powerful and effective form of spoken prayer. And when you use God's name, I am that I am, in your decrees, you access his unlimited power. Repeating decrees increases their benefit. Using visualizations enhances your decrees, and you can use breathing techniques to increase the power of your prayers and decrees. So what we can do is actually go deeper into these in subsequent summits. And I feel like just really being mindful of the experience that we're having and how we show up and how it impacts everyone within our experience is something to really just reflect on, because everything is about how we show up. And it's just like, we have to understand why we do things, and then also pay attention to when things happen, because anybody listening back to this will be looking at it from a perspective of your own. That's going to be a reflection of your life experiences, and everything is ultimately a combination of who we were before we came to now to see now as we do. And so as much as it may seem a little choppy or convoluted or unclear or distracting or whatever it may have seemed, I want you to understand how perfect it actually was from a higher perspective, because this is a mental health and harmonizing humanity with music experience. And children came and music was not played. And these kids actually still persisted with it, which means you kept on and you stayed focused. So like, well done, lady. You guys have done well. There's room for improvement, but it's also, you know, you're young and we only know what we know until we know something better and then can do better. So for these summits to continue, there will be changes made in terms of moderating the conversations and making it more accessible. And, you know, if we get more kids coming out, more adults coming out, then having breakout sessions so people can actually have conversations is very easy with the Zoom platform. And these are things that can come from days like this when it's like, well, that was a mess. Or was it? And these are just judgments that we have to just start balancing. Like in the tree of life, there's actually, I have it just right over here. Just one second. The tree of life, this right here, it has judgment and mercy balanced. And when judgment and mercy are able to be balanced, then we can go and balance understanding and wisdom and inspiration, the spirit that comes down through to charge compassion, harmony, and love, integrity and endurance, vitality, creativity, and honor. And when we understand these, and we understand fundamentally that judgment and mercy must be balanced, then we understand that there's no need to be harsh on ourselves or to make judgments about how this meeting could have, should have, would have, didn't go. The fact is that this meeting happened today, and there are 6 people in the view that actually got themselves here. So celebrating each of us for being willing to do that. And then to say in 2 weeks when we come back for a meeting that will be better, because we'll be better, then come at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and then you can be part of
That's great.
Going to be great. Kyla, thank you. So we hope that you'll come then. And if you wanted to come next Tuesday, that's when Jared and I are having a different experience altogether, which is where we're actually going to be connecting with the artists that are in the Album 22 project that we're doing with the Mad Hatter's Mystic Music Summits that we've been running for the last few months. And that project is where we're actually putting positive energy into the music intentionally, so that we can uplift the vibration of the sounds in our environment so that it completely changes our vibrational state. And there is a video that Michael Seegers and I did that actually takes all of that to a deeper level with resources, and there's a video you could watch. So it was great to meet you guys today. Thank you for coming. And ultimately, this is a learning experience. The experience, the meeting itself, and then on top of that, the experience of hosting a meeting, the experience of coming to a meeting, the experience of coming into life generally. It's all just practice, but at the same time, practice matters. The Spartan warrior said, "Sweat more in practice, bleed less in battle." So thanks for sweating with me, guys.
You know, Laura, I really appreciate the opportunity to just watch you be like a mother in action, like have a focus, have a direction, and be able to work with kids that are on their own path and have their own idea of what we need to do. And that's just a great experience. And I think actually for mental health, it's perfect because so much of life is distractions popping up and trying to derail us from the direction and the focus that we want to give our attention to. So It is perfect. It is a perfect analogy and the perfect example. And I think you've done a beautiful job today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for showing up as always. Chantal, anything to say as a mother and as somebody that has journeyed through so much? Eric, woo, we see you.
No, not really. It's funny, yeah, watching other people deal with children. I love it. I love dealing with children now. After having them, it definitely puts them in a different light. Every little soul is so amazing and hilarious as well. Just adorable, and I love it. I love watching them. They're great.
Right. And it's even to that point though, it's like you have your own and you're more familiar with having them. And so then children become less of a scary thing because it's like, well, I got 2 of my own critters at home. So just like all the rest of them, you know, and it's just like, absolutely. I love it. Thank you. Eric, did you have anything you wanted to contribute? You've been tuned in, so thank you.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Laura. I want to echo what Jared said. Your grace on this experience, and like you said, you know, not maybe going the way you anticipated it going, the way you adapted, and just what you're teaching us through this whole mental health, Jared, you made it clear, right? Like distractions happen. And so the fact that you showed us an example on this call of, you know, just how to really move forward. I think that's the key, right? Is to just continue to move forward. And Chantal, to your point, yeah, children are the purest form of, you know, to me, the purest form of heart and energy and subconscious, right? They have no filter, no jadedness, no, you know, nothing of that nature. And so to see their experience in this was, it was very unique. And I loved it. It was great, Laura. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you guys each for showing up. And I love how all of the worlds are coming together now, because that's what needs to happen. It's like we can't be in our own little boxes anymore. It's just like, let's just bring all the boxes together. So it's just like, instead of having to go to my meeting or Jared's meeting or Chantel's meeting or Eric's meeting, it's like, why don't we just have the meeting together? Like, you can't always do that. But what would make it so that if we could just get the best minds all together, that we could just create something that could benefit the ones that don't fit in the boxes, because that's really what mental health is not honoring. It's the whole I stick approach. Whole, all of me. Like, the holistic approach requires we deal with not just one aspect of disorder. It's like, actually, from a feng shui perspective or an energetic perspective, if you're struggling in like relationships, then actually focus on like your fitness, or focus on your professional work, or focus on something other than the problem. And what you'll find is that the problem actually kind of starts looking after itself, because you're so busy, you've moved the momentum away from the problem. And you've actually given yourself the grace of having space between you and it. And suddenly it's kind of getting unraveled and you're feeling better too. And if we can just understand that our emotions are tools that either help us or hurt us, and we get to choose based on how familiar we're willing to make ourselves. So thank you for all being part of an experience that stretched us all, and I am so grateful to be in this world with each of you. Thank you for showing up, and I look forward to coming together with you guys again very soon. Thursday, Chantal and I do the lawfully organized summits for Peaceful Inner Warriors United, if anyone's interested, at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So we're looking for solutions, and we're looking for warriors willing to stand and say, yes, we are responsible parents to ourselves. And that means the CELLS that we are choosing to fill with faith and love and peace and joy and the goodliness that we hope goes into the hearts of those little ones that will become the ones that sit in front of screens like these one day, ruling and running meetings like what we've just experienced. And ultimately, if they don't know how to do it because we didn't equip them, whose fault is that? So here we are. We had some live training in action. Thank you to my friends. I appreciate each of you and have a great day.
Thank you. See you guys.
Amazing. Peace out.